Well, good morning, guys. It's good to be here with you guys today. I'm excited about sharing the violin because mainly I know you guys know a lot about it already. Aren't you guys all in the string program or at some, I've had some exposure? All of you, right? Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about the violin, and you guys are going to help me, and then I'm going to take some questions. I'm going to play you some songs, see if you guys can guess some of them. Then we're going to talk about the sounds of the instrument and also how the violin or the strings or instruments in general can make you feel certain things when you are in a certain mood, how that can lift your mood or maybe go from feeling a certain way to something totally different. So first, someone tell me what in particular instrument is this? Raise your hand.
A violin.
This is a violin, right? And it is in the, who knows what family this is part of? I would imagine probably most of you guys know this. Well, it's similar to, yes, it is the same family as guitars. What else?
Strings.
It's in the strings family. And there are other instruments in the strings family because you guys do those here too, correct? So besides the violin, we have the viola. What else? Cello. The double bass, right? Piano is that. It's considered a string and a percussive because it hits when you strike the keys. But also the guitar and things like that. So there's a lot of instruments in the string family. Now, I started playing the violin when I was 9 years old. And started because my grandfather was a fiddle player. And he had an extra instrument and asked me if I wanted to play. And I said, well, sure. I didn't know anything about the violin or the fiddle. Is there a difference between the violin and a fiddle? Yes.
Yes.
What is the difference?
I think it's the fiddle's like smaller or it's more graceful or harder, I think.
Okay, so mainly it's just because they play different styles of music. That's it. And you can play all sorts of styles of music on the violin. And you guys have probably even heard that over the last few years. There's a lot of people that are playing all kinds of different things with different instruments. So question, who can raise their hand and tell me what is the violin and most of the strings made from? Yes.
Wood.
It's made from wood. Now, are all violins made of wood? No. Some are made of, anybody know? Have you ever seen an electric violin before? Yes. They can be all kinds of bright colors. They look like they're plastic. They're definitely not typical wood, but they can be plugged in and, amped and things like that. Now, why do you think the violin is made of wood? Why in the world would you not pick like plastic, something pretty hard? Because if I drop this could break. Yes?
Because it could be easy to like play the strings on it.
Well, it's definitely easier to play, but there's another really big reason.
It like actually like has the sound to it like a violin.
Well, it actually helps the sound go through, right? Doesn't it help resonate and bring the sound out because the sound goes through wood pretty well. And it has also been said that the string family, especially the violin, is very similar to the human voice, which I totally now agree after I've played it for a while, because when you put it up on your shoulder and under your chin, when I play my instrument, do you think I feel the vibrations? And do you think I feel what's happening in this instrument in my body? Absolutely. And so it's the same kind of thing. I feel the vibrations too. And what do we know that sound is? Vibrations, right? So there are different ways I can get sound out of my instrument. What's one way I can get sound out of my instrument?
Plucking it.
I can pluck it, right? And there's different ways to pluck, right? I can do it like that. We sometimes hold it like this. So I can pluck. How else?
You can like rub it
with my bow, right? I can play it with my bow and get a sound. And some people have asked me, they said, well, what is the bow. What are these things on the bow? Anybody know? Everybody call out.
Horsehair.
It's horsehair. And people say, is that really horsehair? Yes. Now, not all bows that are modern have horsehair. Some of the cheaper ones use synthetic material, which is definitely not as good. But if you only want to pay, say, $25 for a bow, that's probably what you're going to get on it. But if you pay a little bit more, you'll get the horsehair. Now, does anyone, I didn't even know this, have a clue of how many horsehairs are typically in a bow? I didn't know this until recently. They said about 150 hairs. Have y'all ever taken it apart?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's kind of cool, and I'm going to show it to you. It's one of my favorite things to do because I just think it's fun. But you can actually take the end, well, don't do this, okay? But I'm going to show you. That's what it looks like.
Whoa. There's no...
How about that? It's kind of interesting, isn't it? And so they can replace these, and I have mine replaced about once a year. You can get them rehaired, and that's good because they get old and they get frayed. And so, does anyone know what we usually put on a bow to help it? Well, I'm going to let you tell me, why do I put this on my bow? Tell me what this is called. It's rosin, right? And we put rosin on our horsehair. But you know why? Yeah.
Because like it helps with the sound?
It helps grip the string. Because I was curious as to why we use horsehair in the first place. Why do they choose horsehair? Well, it has these little barbs on it, which help grip the string, and when you put it on the string, it pulls and then releases, creating that vibration that we want. So that's why they use it. I don't usually rosin my bow every single time, but I usually do it every 2 or 3 times, and it just helps the grip, because if you don't have any rosin when you first get a new bow, or if I get my bow rehaired, it will not grip the string at all. It just slides right off. No sound, no anything, because it's not enough, there's not enough grippy stuff on it, and the rosin helps. The rosin, if you feel it, and you've probably felt it before, is kind of sticky. Once you put it on your hand, if you get it on your hands, it's a little sticky and a little almost chalky feeling. So anyway, so anyone know how old the violin is? How long has it been around? It's been around a long time. Do you know? 500 years. How about that? Over 500 years, the violin was first made. And before that, there were similar instruments, but not exactly this looking. They've changed it over the years. And does anyone know in what country they were first made? Yes?
France?
Close. Italy. They were made in Italy. In Cremona was one of the first places they were made. Anyone know what a violin is worth? Because they can go all kinds of price ranges.
Only $300?
Yeah, you can pay $300, you can pay $500, you can pay $50 on eBay or Amazon probably. Do you think you'll get a good instrument probably with that? Yeah, probably not. It's probably a good, like maybe starter. I've had some young kids who wanted to start playing, and you know, you don't want to buy an instrument if you don't know if you're going to stick with it. So I say don't spend too much money, but you can pay a lot of money for a violin. The most expensive instruments in the world are valued at $15, $20 million.
What?
Yeah. But there's only a few kinds that are that expensive. Most are anywhere between $5,000 and $50,000 if you get a pretty good instrument, anywhere in those ranges. So they're pricey, which means you got to take care of them, right? And you got to make sure that when you're done playing, we wipe off the strings, we take care of it. But the violin is so versatile, which is why I love it. It can make you feel different ways. There is research that shows that if you play an instrument, and not just violin, any instrument, because does anyone in here play piano or another instrument too? Yeah, and that if you play longer than about 10 to 12 minutes, that the happy endorphins in your brain take over and start coming out into your body as you play an instrument. So it is really actually super good for you to play an instrument. All right, so now I'm going to play a little bit for you. And I've brought a couple, and I want you to see if you can guess what I'm playing. And I bet a lot of these you will know, okay? All right, are you ready?
Yes.
If you know, just raise your hand. Don't say anything. What is it? Harry Potter. Yeah, do you remember Hedwig?
I don't.
And you may have never seen Harry Potter. If you've not seen Harry Potter, you may not know that.
I haven't seen Harry Potter, but I heard the song before.
But you may have heard it, yeah, because it's a pretty popular song. All right, here is another one for you. Anybody recognize that? What is it?
It's Star Wars.
Star Wars theme, right?
Wow.
Anybody ever seen Star Wars before?
I heard that.
You've heard of it? Is it just before y'all's time? Well then, let me try this one. I bet a lot of y'all might know this one. Now, it's going to start out different. And I'm going to start out not at the very beginning. I'm going to start out kind of in the middle and see what you recognize. What is that? We don't talk about Bruno. No. How did y'all like that movie? Isn't that great?
I watched it on Christmas Day.
We love that, right? All right, see if you recognize this one. All right. You'll probably recognize this one too. Raise your hand when you know it. Pressure. Good job. Surface pressure from Encanto. So I figured y'all would probably recognize that even if you didn't recognize Star Wars, right? So, and that's okay, but the music is like all over the place. So even if you haven't seen things, sometimes we hear the music. And how does that make you, how does the music kind of make you feel? It's interesting because I have a daughter and she's very much into music. And if she's not feeling in a good mood, what do you think makes her feel better? Music. She'll say, Mom, can you turn something on and let me listen to this song or this song? And we turn it on and suddenly her mood has changed. Have you ever found that with your own self? That it really can make you feel different ways and also lift your mood. I'm going to play a couple different styles of music that sometimes you hear with violins or other instruments. But this is one, you probably won't recognize it, but I want you to think about how does it make you feel, and if there's a time in history that you could think of that may go with it. So I'm going to play just a little bit of this. go. How did that make you feel? Just what happened to your mood? What happened inside? Anything at all? What about you in the back?
I felt relaxed.
It's relaxing, right? Did it kind of make you just chill for a minute? Yes.
It made me feel calm.
Calm. Yeah, totally, yes.
It made me feel sleepy.
Sleepy? Sure, absolutely. Music's really good at doing that too. Yes.
It made me tired.
Made you a little tired, yeah. So it kind of settled things down, didn't it? This was called Ashokan Farewell, and it was set to be from the Civil War, like when they would do movies and things about the Civil War. Well, that makes kind of sense. It's got that kind of all-American sound. All right, now I'm going to play another one, and I want you to think about how this makes you feel. Was there a difference? Yes.
Made me feel a little happy.
A little bit happy, yes?
It made me feel jumpy because it was a lot.
Yes, kind of made you kind of get a little bit excited inside, didn't it, right? Because it's moving very quickly, yes.
It made me feel energized.
Energized, yes. So music has the power to do all sorts of things. Do you think that people who write music know that?
Yeah.
And they want you maybe sometimes to feel certain things. It's like when you watch a scary movie, they play scary music, right? To also help you get that feeling inside. So I love music because it can make us feel all kinds of different ways. Now you guys have some concerts coming up at the end of the month, the 24th and the 25th of February, that you're going to hear the symphony play some different kinds of music. And I have a feeling you guys are going to enjoy that a lot. Now, I want to take questions. Do you guys have any questions for me about the instrument, about anything with music? Yes.
How can you read the notes when it doesn't like say like D and it just says the number of fingers?
So the question is, how can I read the notes if it doesn't tell me note names or fingering names? Well, when I first started, probably like y'all, everything is written down, right? And you've got just a few notes that you have to read, and you learn to read that this note on the staff means it's on this string, right? It starts out very slow like that, and it's years and years and years. And you also learn patterns in the fingers because a lot of music does patterns. And so you learn those. But it's just a lot of years of spending time. It's like reading when you learn to read a book. You learn to read words, right? At first when you started reading, you were probably a slow reader, right? Probably weren't real fast, but as you get older, you get faster and faster. And then you're able to process what it says quicker. Same with music. Yes?
Why was the violin decided to be created?
Tell me that again?
Why was the violin decided to be created?
I didn't.
Was the violin created?
Why was it created? Why was the violin created? Well, I imagine because people liked music, and strings have a particular sound, and I have a feeling that they just started experimenting and seeing what kinds of things they could get from different ones, and they would add more strings. That's why you have the guitar that has lots of strings, some of them do. Some of them only have a few. I think it's because people wanted to do music and share it. Isn't it fun to share music? I know it is for me. Yes?
Like, how long do you think it took you to actually learn how to play violin really good?
How long did it take me to learn violin pretty good? All right. Generally, it takes at least 5 years to make it sound pretty good. Not that you can't play before that, and not that you can't make it sound okay, but consistently. I remember I went through that phase. Anybody ever go through the phase of, I hate this instrument, I want to quit? Yes, me too. I remember, and I begged my mom, begged her, please, I hate this. I don't want to do it anymore. My mom said no. And finally she went to my teacher, and my teacher said, make her play one more year. And if she still wants to quit after one more year, and I'd been playing about 4 years, then let her quit. Well, after that last year, which was about year 5, suddenly it started sounding like something, and it wasn't all bad. And it was kind of cool that I could pick up something and read it, and suddenly I said, hey, it's kind of fun. And so I started enjoying it. Now, did I enjoy all the practice? No. But you get to where you don't mind the practice so much. So, yeah, about 5 years, yes.
How do you know if your violin is tuned?
How do I know if my violin is in tune? That is a fabulous question. Well, I've been playing long enough that I can tell pretty quick if my instrument's not in tune. But I still tune it every single time I play. And I usually have a tuner on my phone, an app, and it gives me a pitch, and I tune my violin to it. Now, you can get the pitches that actually will tell you if you're too high or too low, but I've played long enough where I can just play the note, and I know by playing if it's in tune. And you learn that there is a ring that happens when you play 2 notes at a time, and when it's in tune, it has this ring. I don't know if y'all have ever listened for that when you're tuning your instruments. It has a ring when it's in tune, and that's kind of how I know. But in an orchestra setting, does anyone know, who do we tune to? Does anyone know? Who do we tune?
The choir director, I think.
Not the choir director. There's an instrument that the orchestra tunes to, and it's not the violin. It is the?
Piano.
Not the piano, because we don't always have a piano when we play. It's the oboe. Anyone familiar with the oboe? It is a woodwind instrument, and it looks similar to a clarinet, but it's very bright. It's much brighter, and some people say it's like a duck. It kind of has this bright sound like that. And we tune to the oboe in the orchestra because they are a very steady instrument that can hold tune, but they also use a tuner before they tune us and make sure they're in tune before the orchestra tunes to them. All right, any other questions? These are great questions, y'all. Thanks. Well, okay, is that it? Yes?
Was the violin created just for people to listen to music?
Was the violin created just for people to listen to music? Well, what do y'all think? Yeah, I think it's created so people could listen and also people could play. Because I don't know about y'all, but usually when I hear music, and maybe it's because I've spent my life doing music in some way, I want to be involved in it somehow. I want to do it. Like if I hear a song on the radio, what's the first thing I'm going to start doing? I'm going to sing to it, right? Anybody like to sing in here? I love singing. Yes. When you hear a song, do you just sit there? Now, if you're around other people, you might, but in general, if you're in the car by yourself well, not by yourself because you're too young, but if you're in the car with, say, just your parents or your siblings, are you going to sing?
Yes.
For sure. And so I think that's what music can do is you want to participate in it, which is, I think, why we have it. All right, any other questions? Yes.
You play more than one instrument.
Do I play more than one instrument? No, I am a singer. So that's my other instrument, I guess if you'd call that. I do opera, and I've done musical theater. So I do a lot of, probably just as much singing as I do playing. But that's the only instruments I do. Yes?
How do you clean like certain parts of your violin?
How do I clean? Okay, so when I clean my instrument, usually after I play, I just wipe it down with a cloth really good, and I take over the strings to take the rosin off because you can get that built up. And there's ways that if it sticks, you can kind of get it. I can cover everything up really good with a cloth, and I can take a cotton ball, and if my strings build up, I can take some alcohol on a cotton ball and just kind of wipe the strings off, but that's the only thing I touch the alcohol with. Most of the time, we don't ever like polish too much our instruments. I think you can buy stuff like that, but they say really just clean it off with a cloth, and that's how I do it. But I do loosen my bow every time when I'm finished playing. I tighten it before I play, and then I loosen it and let it rest when I'm finished. All right, question?
Is like violin like your favorite instrument, or do you have like any other favorite instrument?
Good question. Is the violin my favorite instrument, or do I have other favorites? I do have a few other favorites. I love the violin, and I love it because of, I feel like it's such a, if it's played well, it's such a sweet sound. I love the cellos, and I love all the strings. Those are probably my favorites. But I think my second favorite instrument, as far as an orchestral instrument, would be the oboe. I absolutely adore the oboe. It's probably, and I love the horn, the French horn, a lot. But that's a very difficult instrument to play from what I hear. I've never played it, so I don't know. All right, one more question, and then we'll wrap up. Yes?
Was the violin the first instrument in the string family?
Was the violin the first instrument in the string family? I don't know that for sure. I would say probably something similar to that, or the guitar would have been the first instruments, because there was something called a lute that looked kind of like a guitar, but it wasn't exactly the same. But these instruments have been around, I would say, probably pretty close to about as long as each other. All right, you guys, thank y'all so much for letting me come in, and you guys enjoy the upcoming concert with the symphony. It's always so much fun. So thanks for letting me come in.